doesn't love a happy homecoming? How's everybody doing? I'm Jay Elson, and this is Coyote Corner. Well, it had been nearly a month since South Dakota football fans were treated to that thrilling come-from-behind win over Weber State in the home opener. And since then, the team had fallen on hard times. First, there was the heartbreak in Grand Forks. Then came the frustration in Youngstown. Saturday, the Coyotes were looking to find something to celebrate as they played host to 11th-ranked Northern Iowa in the 100th Dakota Days football game. Announced attendance of 10,221 turned out to watch the 47th meeting between the Coyotes and the Panthers. South Dakota hoping to snap a two-game D-Days losing streak, and this will help. UNI allowing just 68 yards per game on the ground coming in. Chris Strevler goes for 69 on the third play from scrimmage, and the Coyotes jump in front 7-zip. The other quarterback can run a bit too, though. Aaron Bailey responds with a 12-yard scamper to cap the Panthers' opening possession, and it's 7-7. Oh, but the fireworks were just getting started. Strevler to the air this time. Picture-perfect pass to Alonje Brooks. 63 yards down to the UNI 10. Trevor Bama would take it in one play later. Bama finished with 72 yards on 15 carries. UNI answers again. Bailey extends the play and then finds a wide open Michael Malloy. 31 wins the race to the pylon, 17 yards, and it's 14-14 after one. Panthers up 3 in the second when the Coyotes hit their third home run of the day. Strevler to Takari Carpenter, 75 yards for the touchdown. South Dakota led 21-17 at the half. The defense really ratcheted up the pressure to start the third. Colin Mertlick drops Bailey for a 9-yard loss. 4th sack of the year for the senior. Coyotes D delivers another big play on the next UNI possession. Bailey looking deep, but check out the pick from Andrew Gray. Back-to-back games with an INT for him, and the offense makes this one count. Strevler finds Carpenter again, and he does the rest. 6 for 6 again. First career 100-yard game for Carpenter. Coyotes lead 28-17. It stayed that way until the start of the fourth quarter. Bailey on the QB keeper. They eventually give him the touchdown. Panthers then convert the two-point conversion with a pass to Trevor Allen. And just like that, they're back within 3. They'd get a chance to tie it a few minutes later, but Austin Ertham's 34-yard attempt sails wide left. So the lead stays at 3. UNI would get one last chance with under 2 minutes to go, but on 4th and 4, Mertlick gets to Bailey again. His second sack of the day seals it. South Dakota upsets 11th-ranked Northern Iowa 28-25. Another huge day for Strevler, who completed 8 of 12 passes for 182 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. He also ran for 128 yards and a score, and would eventually be named the Missouri Valley Football Conference's Newcomer of the Week. Defensively, we mentioned Mertlick already. Tyson Graham had a couple of sacks as well, while Jet Moreland chipped in by tying his career high with 12 tackles. Pulling off the upset certainly required a great effort from South Dakota, but was it complete? We'll ask the head coach when Coyote Corner returns.
Coyote Corner on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, Dakota Land Honda, and your Core Trust Bank.
Well, for the first time in 3 years, South Dakota is celebrating a Dakota Days victory. The Coyotes again upsetting 11th-ranked Northern Iowa 28-25 on Saturday afternoon. And joining us now to lend his perspective on that victory is USD head coach Bob Nielsen. And Bob, considering the environment, the tradition involved with this football game, as well as how things had gone for you over the previous couple of weeks, how big is this?
Well, it's great to get back on the winning track, number one, and it was a really exciting day. You know, a great crowd. Crowd, I think, did play a factor in the game, and was really excited for our guys to see their effort and how that game came together.
Well, UNI boasting one of the top run defenses in the country. Panthers giving up just 68 yards per game on the ground coming in, but you didn't back away from the run at all. In fact, you kept it on the ground for 37 out of your 49 plays on the day. Was that the ratio you had planned on?
No, not really. It was kind of an interesting game offensively, honestly, by the time you throw in the big plays and those short drives that really resulted in touchdowns. If somebody would have told me that we were only going to run 49 plays and win the football game, I think I probably would have taken that bet
Yeah.
because that's not the kind of offensive team we really are.
Absolutely. All right. Well, the Yotes finished with 203 yards rushing for the day. That's nearly 3 times the previous high surrendered by UNI this season. So why were you able to succeed where some other teams had not?
Well, Chris's big run early obviously was a big part of that yardage, a 65-yard run, but we were able to find some ways to run the ball with a certain level of consistency, and that's what you have to do against Northern Iowa to have a chance. You can't be one-dimensional, and our offense was able to do it.
Now, you mentioned Chris's run, explosive plays. That was one of them. Certainly played a big role in this game as well. You had 5 of them that went for at least 29 yards on Saturday. 4 of those were passing plays. 3 of those went for touchdowns. So you've been talking the past couple of weeks about needing to throw the football better. You didn't do it a lot on Saturday, just 12 times all day long, but Chris Streveler completed 8 of 12 of those passes for 182 yards. How big of a step forward was this for the passing game?
We were very efficient in terms of finding open receivers and making big plays through the air. And if you can run the football, you're going to create one-on-one situations, and that's what we were able to take advantage of on Saturday.
Again, goes back to not being one-dimensional, correct?
Right, and I think we can still be better balanced. Obviously, we need to get more first downs and control the clock a little bit more ourselves, but we were very efficient in the fact that every possession that we had in UNI territory ended up in the end zone.
Takari Carpenter turned in his best day as a Coyote on Saturday. 3 catches, 109 yards, 2 touchdowns. He'd been pretty quiet over the previous 3 games after a decent showing at New Mexico. So what was the difference this week for him individually?
Well, we needed some of those guys to step up. With Brant Van Rokel and Riley Donovan suffering with some injuries right now, we needed Takari and guys like Alonje Brooks and some of those other younger receivers to step forward. I thought they had a really good week in practice. Takari's kind of an emotional guy, and I think his making a big play just kind of got him into the flow of the game even more, and he made a couple more through the course of the afternoon.
Yeah, he certainly did that. Let's switch over to the defense now. Northern Iowa features one of the top quarterbacks in the league in Aaron Bailey. And he was good for them early. Bailey completed 5 of 7 passes, 74 yards and a touchdown. He also ran it for 41 yards and a score in the first quarter alone. But after that, the defense really got after him. They allowed him just 129 combined yards over the final 3 quarters. And they also sacked him 5 times in that span. So what was the key to bottling him up?
We talked about that during the week, that we needed to make him work for his yards. And what we were able to do in the second half, and part of it was due to the fact that we had a lead, is we made him a little uncomfortable. We were able to make him a pocket passer, put some pressure on him while he was in the pocket, and did a better job containing him in the running game as well.
Got to highlight a couple of individual performances on that side of the ball. Let's start with Taylor Lambert. The past 2 games, this guy's recorded 5 tackles, 4 of them for loss, including 2 sacks. We're talking about a guy here that's listed at 5'10", 245 pounds, and that's listed at 5'10", 245. So he's playing D-tackle. How's he doing?
Well, the 245 is close. I'm not sure 5'10 is. He plays exceptionally hard. We converted him in there, thought he's a guy that could give us something, and he's given us a lot. A guy that we're going to continue to find ways to utilize, but it's really he's a true effort guy that plays the game the way it's supposed to be played.
Another guy that's been having a great year for you is Colin Mertlick at defensive end. 2 more sacks for him on Saturday. He's got 5 for the season. Is that what you were expecting out of him?
Well, we need him to be a kind of the lead guy as a pass rusher. He's the experienced guy we have in that front and understands the kinds of plays that you got to make in this league.
You've been searching for that complete effort. 60 minutes. Was this it?
It was closer. I like the way we closed the game out, even though it would have been ideal to take that last possession offensively and get a couple of first downs and not let them have the ball back. When we punt the ball back to them, I could see there was a great deal of confidence in our defensive football team, and they did a great job and put the game away. And that was a thing we didn't do a few weeks ago at North Dakota, and that's a step in the right direction.
All right, Bob. Well, it was a lot of fun to be there for, and a lot of people awfully happy when they left this place on Saturday afternoon. So congrats on the win, and thanks again for your time this week. All right, well, stay tuned. We've got more to come on the D-Day win over Northern Iowa. We're going to cover Saturday's storylines after this. A number of factors contributed to South Dakota's D-Day's upset of Northern Iowa. And before we close the book on the Panthers, we want to give our expert a chance to weigh in on that football game. Midco SN analyst Andre Fields back for another edition of Saturday Storylines. And Andre, this was the second time in 3 games that the Coyotes carried a 2-score lead into the fourth quarter. Now, don't kid yourself, though. What happened at North Dakota was very much in the minds of everyone inside that Dakota Dome on Saturday, but the Yotes did not let it happen again. What was the most encouraging sign that you saw from this team down the stretch?
I think the most encouraging sign, Jay, was that they were able to finish it both offensively and defensively. There was some times in there where we thought the defense might be vulnerable to giving up some of these plays, and we all were on edge thinking that something bad might happen offensively that could turn the game around, but in both cases, they were able to hold strong, finish off Northern Iowa, and get the 3-point victory at home on defense.
And I think it's fair to have felt that way just because over the last few years they've given you reason to feel that way, but this is an encouraging sign. We've seen the character that this team has shown through the first few weeks, and on Saturday that character was there for 60 minutes. That's the biggest difference. Well, a lot was made about that UNI defense coming in, and rightfully so. Nobody had been able to run the ball against the Panthers. In fact, Montana's 88 yards was the most they had given up so far, but the Yotes dropped 203 on them at a clip of 5.5 per carry. Now, a little more than half of that came on 2 runs, but impressive nonetheless. So let me ask you pretty much the same question I asked Coach Nielsen a little bit earlier. In your opinion, why were the Coyotes so successful on the ground?
Well, I think Chris Streveler is a two-way weapon, and you have to honor his athleticism. The fact that he got off to a great start early now puts the defense at a situation where who do you go after? Do you come up and make sure you're going to stop him and allow Bauman to get going? Or do you stay, gap sound in your technique and cover them both? And in this case, they had to pick and choose, and USD was able to take advantage of that.
And it helps that they proved to be effective through the air because that's going to loosen things up, too. You have to honor that threat with him as well.
Yeah, that was probably even the bigger part. Now, as you mentioned that, Jay, yes, getting some of those long passes down the field definitely opened things up for the running game. Now you have a two-way go. You got the defensive coordinator guessing, and that's when you have success.
Yeah, it was a good day for the passing game as a whole. No pick sixes, so that was a start. But Streveler was efficient, and from a receiver standpoint, we saw another guy step up. Takari Carpenter, who totaled 2 catches for -1 yard over the previous 3 games, grabs 3 passes for 103 yards and 2 touchdowns. And here's what he had to say about what that performance meant to him.
That's a big game for me. It's to solidify my spot, probably because it's like a battle right there. It's always going to be a battle, but it's a battle right now. I just had a big one. Hopefully I can do it every week from now on,
Now, congratulations to him for that performance. So Carpenter becomes the 2nd wide receiver in the last 3 games to put up a 100-yard game. How about this? Before that, they'd had 1 in the previous 26 games. So what does all that mean to you?
Well, I think it means that you, like he said, there's a lot of competition going on at the wide receiver position, and that's just going to make everybody step their game up from week to week, which can only help the USD offense. I also think, Jay, that it means that if you do get someone going and you have multiple go-tos, now the defense can't key on one person. We saw it was the little guy the first week. Then we had Donovan, who had a big game against North Dakota. Now you got Carpenter stepping up. Londre Brooks came on. I mean, now you got weapons to throw to, and that just makes it easy for Chris.
Little guy, Shamar Jackson.
Yes.
Remember that name, too. All right, finally, the continued improvement on the defense is evident. This week they delivered what I thought was their most complete effort of the season. The whole group deserves a piece of the credit for that, but I think we've really got to look at the defensive line. 5 sacks against a quarterback like Aaron Bailey is no easy task.
That is probably the biggest key to the game for me was the defense, the way they stepped up and were able to control Northern Iowa's running attack, whether it was Bailey or the running back. They took care of that, and that took care of the game, essentially.
Absolutely. USD, by the way, now 15 sacks in the season. That's tied with North Dakota State for 2nd most in the Valley. Only Youngstown State has more. They've got 19. All right, well, thanks, Andre. We'll see you back here next week. Well, up next for Bob Nielsen and the Coyotes is a trip to Indiana State. We'll preview this week's showdown with the Sycamores next. There is no question about it. The win over Northern Iowa was huge for South Dakota. But the Coyotes were in a similar spot just a few weeks ago, following that victory over Weber State. What happened the following week is exactly what Bob Nielsen and company are looking to avoid this week when they travel to Indiana State.
Well, I've already talked to our guys about that winning at home is one thing in the Valley, winning on the road is another, and we've got to go out and use this last week's performance as a building block to be a better football team, both offensively and defensively. Even though we did some good things, there's a lot of things that without question we're capable of doing better, and those are the things we've got to focus on this week.
Now the Sycamores open Valley play with a home win over Illinois State, but have since dropped 2 straight, including last week's heartbreaking 36-35 decision at Western Illinois. Despite their record, though, Nielsen says there's plenty of things about this week's opponent that could cause his team problems if they're not prepared to play.
They're a very well-coached football team. They do a lot of things offensively and defensively, and are a little different than a lot of the other teams in the league. And so they're a very difficult preparation, and a team that is going to play very, very well at home.
South Dakota and Indiana State will meet for the first time since 2013 on Saturday afternoon in Terre Haute, with the winner gaining the edge in the all-time series. The teams split the first 2 games, with the home team winning both. Kickoff at Memorial Stadium is slated for 2 p.m. Central Time, and I will be there as always, so be sure to follow along for updates at midcosn.com and on Twitter at ElsonMidcoSN. Look good, play good. That's the mantra of Coyote senior Jet Moreland, and when we come back, we'll shed some light on the linebackers' hidden talent.
Coyote Corner on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, Dakota Land Honda, and your Core Trust Bank.
And welcome back. Well, between the lines, Jet Moreland is making a name for himself as the Coyotes' leading tackler. But as it turns out, the senior linebacker also spends a great deal of time helping his teammates look good off the field as well. Kelly Stewart has more on Moreland's hidden talent.
Jet Moreland expresses himself on the field with his hard-hitting tackles and clutch plays. The senior linebacker from Wichita is truly making the most of his final go-around at USD, but when he and some of his teammates take their helmets off, his expression comes out even more.
I think cutting hair is really an art. I was definitely interested in it when I first started cutting my own hair. Also watching videos of people doing designs and things like that. All the different techniques and styles that you use in cutting hair, whether it's long hair or short. It's definitely just an interesting thing to me because you can kind of express yourself through your own haircut and the haircuts that you give other people.
But an art like this isn't something you can learn in a day. And when it comes to haircuts, people are definitely picky. Thankfully for Moreland's clientele, he's got experience.
Initially, I started cutting my own hair around the age of 14, I would say. Probably about in 7th grade. I was homeschooled through middle school, so I probably should have been doing schoolwork opposed to experimenting on my own hair. From there, my mom found out that I did a decent job. I started cutting my dad's hair and my brother's hair. And then from there, it kind of just expanded to family friends that were close enough to trust me to cut their hair.
He was their go-to guy back in Wichita, and at USD, he definitely made a name for himself early.
Once I got to college, the first person's hair that I think I cut was my roommate's freshman year. He was friends with a lot of the basketball guys, and he was also on the football team, so word kind of expanded through them. And eventually I started cutting some of the basketball players' hair and then football players as well.
And his talents expand beyond just the traditional haircut. Moreland makes sure all facial hair is looking just as fresh as the cut.
It's almost just an extra accessory to a haircut, whether it's putting like the line in the eyebrow, something like that. That's a big part of kind of the crispiness of a haircut, if you will. Also fading into the beard is one big thing that people like. And I think that's almost as important as the haircut itself.
And these haircuts aren't just for the boys.
I have cut women's hair like on the soccer team, and if the girl has like short hair, like an undercut in the back of her hair, I'll put a design in it. But as far as layering and trimming split ends goes, I think I need more experience to do that for the ladies. I want to put that in there.
Moreland says in season he cuts about 12 to 13 heads of hair per week. His busiest day is usually Thursday because it's the off day for football. And he also mentioned he definitely plans to continue this hobby after college is over, Jay.
Football wasn't the only team that celebrated a Dakota Days victory. Women's soccer hosted defending Summit League champion North Dakota State on Friday. Late first half, Yotes in the counterattack. Brooke Watson finds Sammy Vilwalk, and 22 buries it for her second goal of the day. South Dakota up 2-0 at the half. Fast forward to the 55th minute now. Vilwalk returns the favor. Watson, just her second career goal. The Coyotes blanked the Bison for their first Summit League victory. 4-0 the final. The volleyball team also in action on Friday against IUPUI. 3 Coyotes, senior Audrey Riggs, sophomore Rachel Schmidt, and freshman Elizabeth Lotion finished with double-digit kills, led by Riggs' match-high 19, while Brittany Jessen had 47 assists and 15 digs. Things much more challenging Saturday against Fort Wayne. The Mastodons actually took the first 2 sets before the Yotes returned to form. Riggs and Jessen helped fuel a furious comeback that culminated with a 15-8 win in set 5. Jessen's numbers just ridiculous. She turned in 53 assists and a career-high 28 digs, which helped her earn Defensive Player of the Week honors. Congrats to her and the rest of Leanne Williamson's crew. They're now 6-0 in the Summit League. All right, that is our time for this week. For Kelly Stewart, I'm Jay Elson. We'll see you back here next Wednesday night for another episode of Coyote Corner.